Hey guys, welcome into another tutorial. Today, I'm super excited. We're going to be making this generator puzzle that you have to find these two different fuel cans in different locations, pick them up, and take them to the generator and fill it up. And then once that happens, generator will come on, it'll turn on a light, and your puzzle will be solved. So I hope you guys find this useful. As always, thank you guys so much for all of the support. We're almost at 4,000 subscribers, which is insane to me. I really appreciate it. If you want to find additional ways to support me, I have a Patreon that you can check out. Links below. You can actually get the model for this generator that I'm using, that I spent a very long time, honestly, way too long making this, but I really wanted to create something cool for you guys. So I created this generator that is for patrons. But if you aren't able to support me that way, totally understand. There are free models out there that you can find. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. All right, here we are back in our project. Now I've done just a tiny little bit of construction work. I just added this little back room area to use as a room to hold our generator, and we'll put a roof on it here in a minute, but while I'm building, just wanted to leave that off. So the first thing that I want to do is, there's a couple of things I want to mention. If you're following along with me using the same model that I provided for Patreons, then I just want to make a couple of notes about the materials. So I've gone ahead and applied the materials, but there are a couple that are different. So there's two material slots on the generator that have emissive textures. And if we open up the material instance, I just created a very simple master material for emissive. So it's just a regular material with your base color, your normal, and your ORM. But I also added in an additional texture for emissive. And I'm just multiplying that by a constant one vector here that I've converted to a parameter, and just called that emissive intensity. So if you don't know how to do that, you can just hold down 1, get a constant one vector, and then you can just convert that to a parameter, call that whatever you want. So we're just multiplying that by the emissive texture so that we can increase the intensity of our emissive. And the emissive is really just for the buttons and anything that is lighting up on the generator. So if we find the generator, you will see there are just these buttons here that are lit up. So you can control the intensity of those. You can turn them off if you want, or make them brighter, whatever you want to do. Okay, so let's go ahead and close these. And I've gone ahead and applied all of the materials onto our model here. Now, you'll notice that there's a lot of different parts. That's because I wanted to leave these separate, so that you would have things like the fan. You can make that move. There's little switches and handles and buttons and things like that. So we're going to go ahead and get a blueprint set up to hold all of this. So let's go ahead and go to blueprints, and let's go into puzzles, and let's create a new blueprint, and we will just do an actor. We'll call this BP generator puzzle. Open that up. And I'm going to go back to my meshes here and grab all of my generator parts and go ahead and bring those in. Now there are quite a few parts to this. So again, you don't have to use this model by any means. You don't even have to set up all these parts if you are not going to use them. But I'm just going to quickly place these in the areas that they are supposed to go. So we have a little switch for the fan over here. I'm not going to spend too much time getting this perfect, but just get them roughly in place. And then we have a cap. This is where our fuel is going to go. Now, I may actually leave this off. In fact, I think I will just delete this for this tutorial. You could create a an event that would open that as you put the fuel in. I've kind of already done that tutorial. Like that's basically just a door, right? So I think you can probably figure out how to do that. If there's a lot of people that want me to show how to do that, I can make another tutorial for that. But it's pretty straightforward. Okay, this is our fan. So we'll just put that into place. Okay. And then let's see, what else do we have? We have a handle. I believe these go up here. I think I did this at a 45-degree angle, so you should just be able to move it 45 degrees, and then it should line up pretty well. Okay, that looks pretty good. We have our needle. This is for the gauge here. I don't think I'm going to spend time putting all of these on. I'll put one on each, but there are 3 different ones. So just to save time in this tutorial, so I'm not wasting too much time, I'll just set one of these up. And I don't know, we'll just put it to something like this. Actually, if it's going to be off, it should probably be all the way down, right? So we'll just leave that like that. And then we have our power buttons. Those go over here. And I think I actually mislabeled these because I'm just now noticing that the red says off and the green says on. So sorry about that, but it's a super easy thing to fix. All right, we will just put these roughly in here. Somebody made a comment about the camera clipping. They told me how to fix that. I know that it's an option in the, I think it's the editor window or the editor settings. I forgot to change it though. Would be helpful right now. Although it's not really that big of an issue. But if you're zooming into really tiny stuff, it can be kind of annoying. Okay. I think that is good. Now, let's make sure that our generator has collision because we do need to interact with it. So let's just take a look at the collision, and we do have collision on there, so that's good. Let's go ahead and save that. Now, this is an object that we want to interact with, so we need to add our interaction interface. And again, if you don't know how to do this, I will leave a link to the tutorial where I show how to make an interaction interface. So we need to go to class settings, implemented interfaces, BPI, interaction. Okay, compile and save that. Okay, now I think before we do anything in here, I want to make a widget. We're going to need a widget to show up on our screen when we get close to the generator that shows that it needs fuel. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's right-click User Interface, User Widgets, and this will just be called W_generator, generator, if I can spell. All right, and this will be pretty simple. We just need a canvas panel. And then we'll get a size box and attach it to the canvas panel there. And we will center this to the bottom center. And I'll go ahead and zero those out. And then I'm going to just set the Y position to be minus 50. And on the X, let's try 300. Okay, and then I want this to be centered. So I'm going to go 0.5 and 0.5 on the alignment. And then we just need a text to go in the size box. And this is just going to say press E to, actually let's do to fill generator. Okay. And let's just see what fonts we have here. I really don't have a lot to work with. I'll go with that one. Make it a little bit smaller, maybe like 20. And that should be fine. Now, the other thing that we need is a progress bar. So find a progress bar, add that to our canvas panel. And let's also rename this. This will be the generator level. And let's center that to the bottom. Zero those out. We want to align that in the center, so 0.5, 0.5. And then on the Y, I'm going to just bring it up, which is actually negative, but just somewhere about right there. And then I just want to make this pretty big. Okay, something kind of like that. So this is just going to be the bar that shows up, and as we fill the generator up, it will fill up. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to go to the progress here. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to change the fill color. I'm going to change that to be something like a green, kind of a light, maybe like a darker green here. Something kind of like that. And then what I want to do is we're not going to use this percent, or I mean, we are going to use this percent, but we're going to actually create a function for this to help us move this. So if I go over here to bind, we're going to create a binding, and that is going to create a function for us here. But before we do anything with that, let's go to our event graph, and I'm just going to delete these bottom two here. I just need the event pre-construct. And we're going to get actors of class, and we want to get our generator puzzle. So generator puzzle. And then we want to just, actually, I did get actors, or I did get all actors. We just want to get actor of class because we just need this one. So out of our, well, let me choose the generator again, generator puzzle. Out of the return value, we're going to just promote that to a variable. And that's going to be our generator puzzle ref. Okay, so let's just compile and save that. And let's go back over to our generator puzzle, and let's create a variable. And let's call this fuel level, and that will be a float. And then we can go back to our generator, or our W underscore generator. We can go to this function that we created, get our generator ref puzzle, or generator puzzle ref, and then we can target, or let's see, fuel level. There we go. So we want to get fuel level. And we want to divide by 100. Because we want that progress bar to be in increments of 1 to 100 or 0 to 100. So this will allow us to do that. So now we can compile and save. And now, if we go back to the designer, you'll see that this percent is now bound to this function. So if we go back here, as our fuel level changes here, it's going to divide that by 100 and return a value that is going to be used for our fill level here. Okay. So that is pretty much all we need to do with our widget for now. So just compile and save. And now let's go back to our generator puzzle. And I want to make a way for this to display that widget when we get close to it. So I'm going to add a collision box collision. And then I'll click on that, scroll over here and get on component begin overlap. And let's get player character. And we want to see if our player character is equal to our other actor here. And if it is, get a branch. So if that is true, or when that is true, we want to create widgets. And this widget will be our generator widgets. And then let's also go ahead and promote this to a variable, just so we have our generator widgets ref. And then from that, we will add to viewport. Okay. So before we go any further, let's just go ahead and test this. Now, the first thing that I need to do, I need to make our box bigger. So let's just try something kind of like this. Okay, compile and save. And let's go ahead and drop our generator in here. Puzzles generator. Okay, so let's try this out. Okay, there we go. So when we get up to it, it's going to say press E to fill generator. And if we, well, of course, nothing's going to happen now, but once we create our fuel can, then if we have that, it will start pouring that in and start filling that up, okay? But we also need a way to make this go away because we don't want this widget to just be on the screen the whole time. So let's fix that right now. All right, so let's just get on component ends overlap. And we want to do this again. Other actor, get a branch. If our character crosses over or ends overlap, then we'll get our generator reference, which is the same thing as this right here, but just makes it a little bit easier. And we will remove from parent, which basically just means take this widget off of the screen. Okay. So let's just test that really quickly. So when we walk up to it, it shows, and when we go away from it, it's going to go away. Okay, so that looks good. Okay. So let's go back to our generator puzzle and let's kind of think about what we need to have happen. So when we interact with it, so we've got our interaction event here, we need a way to, first of all, check if we have a fuel can. And then we also need a way to check how much it is full. And if it is full, then we need to just start the generator. So I think what we'll do is we'll create a variable and we'll say has fuel can, and that will just be a Boolean. We'll get that and we'll do a branch. And if that is true, then we will start fueling the generator. But let's create a separate event for that. Okay, so right click, custom events, and we'll just call this fill generator. Now, the first thing I want to do is I got a couple of sounds here. Let's see, generator sounds. So I have, let me just make this so you guys can hear really quick. So I have a liquid pouring sounds that we'll use for our generator, or for the fuel can actually being poured in. And then I also just have a loop for the generator, which is really loud. I don't even know if you could hear me there. And then I also, I got this sound, or I created the sound just using AI, just that says my hands are full.
My hands are full.
It's not really that great of a sound. So I wanted something to notify us that we are carrying a fuel can if we are actually carrying one. Okay, so the first thing is let's play a sound here. Whoops. Play sounds. We'll do at location. And the location will be the generator. Let's see. Let's get the sound and then we'll get world's location. And world location we will plug in there. And our sound will be the liquid pouring. So we'll just plug that in there. And then what I also want to do is, if we go back here, I want to actually create a little bit of an animation showing the jerry can or the fuel can pouring. So I found, let's see if I can remember where it is. There it is. So I found this on Fab, by the way. If you go to Fab, and if you just search for jerry can, there's a free one from Quixel here that you can use. If you don't have Quixel, it looks like there's another one that is free here that is not from Quixel. There's probably some other free ones out there that you can find. I can always make one as well. If anybody is not able to find one, just let me know. Oh, I see a handle that we missed down here. Forgot about this guy. He goes up here. This is not really relevant to our puzzle here, but this is just something that I provided, just so you'd have lots of different parts that you could do things with. If you wanted to create like an emergency shutdown or something like that. Okay. I think that looks pretty good. All right, so let's go ahead and add our fuel can in here as well. And there it is. So what I want to have happen is rotate it here. And it's going to be poured into this area right here. So I think right about here should be fine. And actually, I don't really like the pivot point here, so I'm going to change that. Let's go to our level. Let's grab this. Quick little tutorial on changing the pivot point. If you don't know how, just go to the modeling tools, find edit pivot. I always put it under my favorites here because I can never find it in there. But I want to just put the pivots maybe like right about there. So accept that. And now that will make that easier, and I think look a little bit more realistic too. Okay, so I think roughly about right there. You probably would need a funnel to actually pour this in, but we're just going to go with it. Probably you're going to spill a little bit. All right, so I think that's good. So we obviously don't want this to be shown until we start fueling. So we're going to disable the visibility. So if I just type visible, I can disable that. And then if I go back to my event graph, I'm going to create a separate event. And we'll just call this fuel can anim. And we'll add our code to that in a minute. But for right now, I'm going to play that right here. Okay. Now, out of this, we are going to run a timeline. And this will be our fuel pouring. And I'm going to do, let's try 3 seconds. We're going to add a float track, add a key there, and add a key wherever. My first key is going to be at time 0 and value of 0. Whoops. 0. And our last one is going to be at time 3, or whatever your total time is, and value 1. And then I'm just going to hit these 2 buttons here to center all of that. I'm going to highlight both of these, right-click on one of them, set it to auto so that we get this nice little S-curve here. Compile and save. And what we want to actually change here is our fuel level. So I'm going to go ahead and get that out, and we're going to set that. And we want to use our timeline to move a value between 0 and 50 because we want to have to fill this up 2 times. So the first time we're going to fill it from 0 to 50. The second time we'll fill it from 51 to 100. So out of new track, actually I should have called this alpha, although it doesn't really matter, but most people call this alpha. Out of alpha, we will get a lerp, and the alpha will go into alpha. And our starting point will be 0, and then our end point, B, will be 50. And so that will be our return value. We'll plug into our set fuel level because we're going from 0 to 50, and then we're setting the fuel level at 50. Okay. So let's just go ahead and test this out. Let's say that just for debug purposes, let's check has fuel can to true so that this goes through. And let's call our fill generator here. Fill generator. Okay. So now, if we test this out, we should interact with it. We say that we have a fuel can. It should fill the generator, which should play the sounds. It's going to run this event, which we don't have anything on, and it's going to play our timeline here, which is going to set our fuel level over time, which should update our widgets. Okay, so let's give it a try. Okay, so we press E, and there we go. So it fills our generator to 50% and stops, and that is perfect. Okay, so where do we want to go from here? I think what we do next is, well, let's go ahead and do our animation for our fuel can pouring. So what we want to have happen here, okay, I don't really like that this is called some crazy thing. I'm going to just call this fuel can. What we want to have happen here is we want to, first of all, set it to visible. And then we want to just have it move up to like, I don't know, right there. Maybe wait 3 seconds and then move down and then disappear again. Okay. So that should be pretty easy. Let's get our fuel can here. Let's first of all set visibility. Okay, so that will be set to true. And then we want to add a timeline. And this will be fuel can animation TL. Let's do play from start as well. Okay, let's open up our timeline. Let's try 2 seconds maybe. And actually, I'm going to do 1 second. This will make sense in just a minute. Add alpha. We're going to add 2 keys. As always, first one's going to be 0, 0. Next one will be the length of time, so 1 and a value of 1. And we'll just set these to be auto. Okay. Now let's go back here, and what we want to actually move is our fuel can. And we want to set relative rotation. And I need to remember what it is. Okay, so our starting point is going to be 35. And we're going to be moving that to, let's say, 85, okay, on the Y. So let's break or split the struct bin here. And we're going to, out of alpha, we're going to lerp. That will plug into alpha. Starting point, I said, was 35. Our ending point will be 85. So our return value will go to our Y there. And that will be updates. And then what I want to have happen is after we finish, we're going to do a delay of, let's say, 1 second. Oops, 1 second. And then once that is finished, then we want to reverse this. Now, we'll have to see if this works. Sometimes this gives me some wonky results. But let's just try this. And we need to set the visibility. Let's see. So I think we can try doing a delay here. So our delay needs to be 1 second plus the additional second here. And actually, I think it's going to be 3 second delay that we need. We'll try that and see. We might have to adjust it. But we want to basically do this. Just going to copy that. And we want to turn the visibility off. And then I also want to reset the visibility to be off by default. Compile and save. Okay, let's test that out. So we walk up to it, we press E, and okay, so that worked. But as you could probably notice, the fuel can was in the wrong orientation. That is because right here, we are setting X to 0 and Y to 0. So what we could actually do is just get relative rotation. And we could split this. And then we could plug our X and our Z in there. And that's just to give us the starting location for it. So now it should look right. Let's try it out. There we go. And it disappears. That's perfect. Just test it again. Yeah, I think that looks good. Okay, let's compile and save. Now we need a way to figure out how to check if we filled it once. And then if we have filled it once, we need a way to continue filling it. So we're going to create another variable. And let's call this filled once. And I'm going to just move this down a little bit. We'll also comment this. This will be fuel can pouring anim. Okay. This is our interaction. And this is going to be our displaying our widgets. Okay, we'll comment this in a second, but we've got more to add on to this. So the first thing that I want to do is we need to check if we have filled it once. And so I'm going to get this, and I'm going to do a not bool here, and then we'll do a branch. And I'm just getting the not bool so that we can, so that I can plug true into this and not plug false into that. You could do it the other way, but just to make it a little bit easier to read. And now, essentially, what we want to do is, if we have filled it once, then that's not, which means false. Then we want to do this again, but we want to lerp between 51 and 100. Okay, so I am going to just rename this fuel pouring first time. And I'm going to duplicate that with Control D. And then I'm going to rename this. If I can stop doing that, I'll name it up here. We'll call this fuel pouring second time. And this is fine here. But this is going to be plugged into our false here. And then we are going to lerp. And that is going to be plugged into alpha. And this time we're going to go from 51 to 100. And then we will set our new fuel level will now be set by this value right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and test where we're at right now. So when we interact with it, we are just saying that we have the fuel can. And then we're going to fill the generator, and we play the fuel can animation, and then we check to see if we filled it once. Now, the first time that we do this, this will obviously be false, but just for testing purposes, right after this, let's set this to, set filled once to true. Then it will allow us to interact with this again, and then it should run this timeline, okay? So let's just try that out. Okay, so we interact with it, goes up to 50%, and now let's try it again. Okay, so that worked, but I did notice the fuel can animation got a little messed up there. Let's try that again. Okay, so it worked that time. I'm not really sure what happened there. Try it one more. Okay, goes up to 50%. Looks good. Hit it again. Yeah, okay. I don't really know why it did that the first time. I have run into issues with doing this right here, so that could cause an issue. If it does continue to cause an issue, what I'll do is just play a second timeline and just do this in reverse. I don't really know why this wouldn't work. That should work. Just playing reverse, or actually reverse from end is what I've got it plugged into there. But yeah, we'll go with it for now, and if we notice any issues, we will maybe set that up a little bit different. So for right now, let's just delete this, and we'll just leave this as we have it. I'm also going to turn has fuel can back to false because we need to actually create our fuel can. So let's do a new blueprint. And this is going to be an interaction actor. And we're going to create this from our BP item that we have created before. Now, again, this does require a few prerequisites. So if you have not gone through the tutorial on how I created the BP item, then there'll be a link for that below. Be sure to watch through that. I also have noticed there's a couple of people that have said that they've had issues with this. I think that people are just duplicating this. I would not recommend doing that. If you're going to create a new item, what you want to do is you want to create a new blueprint, and under all classes here, you want to search for BP item, and we're going to create a new blueprint from our BP item, which this is going to create a child of this actor here, or this blueprint here. So we're going to call this BP fuel can. And now if you'll notice, we'll go ahead and just drag this in here. So there's nothing here, but I have access to our static mesh, and I can change the scaling. I can change the icon location. So we could actually go ahead and find our, let's see, fuel can. Go ahead and put that in. And let's actually make sure that there is collision on that. Let's see, show collision. Yes, there is. Okay, so we'll be able to interact with it. So let's also move up our icon here to where we can actually see it. Oh, I think I raised it way too high. Okay. So we can just go ahead and test this just to make sure everything is working. Just play from here. There's our interaction icons. If I press E to interact, it works. We just need to change a couple of things. So let's go back to our interaction actors, find BP fuel can, go to our event graph, and let's do a couple of things here. The first thing that I want to do is get events begin play. And I want to get a reference to our generator. So we're going to do get actor of class. And that's going to be BP generator puzzle. And we'll just promote that to a variable. Generator puzzle ref. Now, what we want to do is we want to get our interaction. And we want to, first of all, get our generator puzzle ref. And we want to check, if you'll remember, we created this variable called has fuel can. So we want to check if that is true or not. Has fuel can. Because if that is true, we'll get a branch. Then we don't want to be able to pick up the can because we don't want to be able to carry two cans. So if that is true, I'm going to play sounds. We can just do 2D. And that sound will be our sound that I made that says my hands are full. So let me find that. Generator sounds.
My hands are full.
My hands are full. We'll plug that in there. And then if it's false, let's get our generator ref again. And we want to set has fuel to true, because this means we're going to pick it up and we will then have it. And then we want to just destroy our actor. Okay. So let's test this out. Okay, so we walk up to it, press E, and it disappears. That is good. We know that that is working. Now, we could also test, if we go to our generator puzzle, if we say has fuel can, if we change that to true, compile, and test that, let's see what happens.
My hands are full. My hands are full.
Okay, so that will be our notification to the player that, hey, we can't pick this up. You've already picked up a can. You need to go and use it. Okay. Okay, so we are almost finished. We just need to go to our generator puzzle now, and we need to do a couple of things at the end here. The first thing is, after we play this first timeline, we want to set has fuel to true. Or, sorry, we want to set it to be false. Because we are setting it to true over here. So once we fill it up the first time, we want to set that to be false. So let's get has fuel can and set that to be false. And we also want to run a branch here. Whoops. Branch. And we want to check our fuel level here. So we want to see if it is less than 100. Because if it is less than 100, then we know that we need to continue filling it. If it is greater than 100, then we will set our generator to be on, which we can go ahead and create a variable for that. Generator on. And then essentially our puzzle is finished. So the first thing I'm going to do is get our fuel level, and I want to check if this is less than 100. And if that is true, then we will just leave this as is. But then we also want to check if this is greater than, or actually greater than or equal to 100. Then we will set our generator to be on, and that will be on the false here. Okay. Then from here, if this is true, if our generator is on, then our puzzle is basically solved. So we want to play a sound. We'll play sound at location. And the sound will be our generator looping. Okay. And the location is going to be, we'll just say the generator. Get world's location. And you know what? Actually, I'm going to do this a little bit different because I want to actually fade the sound in, and it's not going to let me do it like this. So we're going to do this a little differently. I'm going to add this sound to our blueprint here. And what we're going to do is we will get that. And then there is a function called fade in. And I'm going to fade that in over 1 second. And then we also need to set the volume of it. So set volume, we'll set that to be 1. And here we need to set the volume to be 0. So it's essentially playing right now, but it is going to, when this puzzle is solved, it's going to set that to 1. So when this puzzle is solved, it's going to set the volume to 1 and fade in that over 1 second. Okay? And then the last thing that I want to do is, I've shown how to do this before, but I've had some people ask how to do this. So this is not super relevant for this puzzle, but I'm still going to create a event dispatcher here. So we will just call this EVD generator puzzle finished. And we'll drag that out and call that at the end here. And what this will allow us to do when this is called, so when the puzzle is complete, we can trigger things on our level blueprint. So if you click on your actual blueprint here, go to your level BP, you can type EVD and you can get that event, and then you can trigger something to happen off of that. So for example, if we had maybe a door that was locked, and we wanted to say, okay, when this generator is turned on, when the puzzle is solved, then that door will be unlocked. Then you could use this to get a reference to your door and set your locked variable to false. Or you could do something like get a light. Maybe you have lights on in here that are going to turn on when the generator is, we could use this light here. So we could say, we can get a reference to that light, and then we could say set intensity of the point lights to, whatever, 5. Okay. So again, this is not really the point of this puzzle, but that is how you can do something like that. And if you guys would like more clarification on that, then just let me know. I can do a more in-depth tutorial, but I just wanted to mention that. Okay, so let's see where we are at. Let me close that. We've got our fuel can here. I think we might actually be finished. Let's just try this out. So we need to create a second one of these. Okay, so let's try, we'll grab this one.
My hands are full.
Oh, so I forgot that we set that to be true. Has fuel. We'll set that to be false. Okay. So we'll grab that. Now that should be set to true. So if I go and interact with this, that's saying that that's full. We can go and fill this. Okay, now it should set that variable to false, that our hands are full. Our generator is 50% full. Now we go and get our second fuel can, walk up to this, and okay, that animation did glitch out there. Also, I don't think that actually played right. So let's see if we can figure out what happens there. Oh, okay. So there are a couple of things that I forgot to do. First of all, on this, we need to continue this code into our branch here because we want to check on both of these, or run this check on both the timelines. And then the other thing is we need to actually tell the blueprint after we pour the first time, we need to set has filled once to true. So on finished here, that is going to be set to true. And that should work now. Let's try that. All right, so we get the first one, We fill that up halfway. Now we run and get the second one and interacts. Okay. Okay. So it did work, but the fuel can animation glitched out. So I was afraid of that. Again, I think that is happening because of what we're doing right here. So we'll have to do this a little differently, which is kind of annoying, but I'm just going to duplicate this. And I'm going to, on finished here, actually, I could have kept the delay. We'll still do a 1 second delay, and we'll play from start here. And our alpha, we will lerp. But this time we're going to lerp the reverse of this. So it's going to be from 85 to 35. And then we're still going to want this. So I'm going to copy and paste that. But this is just going to be our new value for y there. And then this should still be fine. I was going to say I could put this on finished, but I think this should still add up to 3 seconds. So let's give that a try now. Compile and save. All right, so grab the first one, fill it up halfway, and let's grab the second one. Go to fill this up. There we go. Now our animation looks right, and generator comes on. I just noticed it doesn't look like it doesn't sound like we have a attenuation radius on that sound. So I'm going to go ahead and set that up really quick. Just override attenuation. This is probably fine. I might set this to 250 and lower this one quite a bit, maybe like 1200. Okay, let's try it one more time. I think we should be good now. So we pick this up. Now, if I try to pick this up,
My hands are full.
it's going to give us that notification that we can't pick that up. Go here, fill it up once. Go and get our second one. Fill it up, and then it should start our generator. There we go. Sound is much better now. Now it actually sounds like it's coming from there. All right. That is pretty much it, guys. Now, I guess I could show you this really quick. If we did want to do something like have this light turned off, then we could say, this is when we solve the puzzle, we want the lights to come on. So we could get our level blueprints. And because we created that event dispatcher, make sure that you click on the actual blueprint here. Go to your level blueprints, call EVD generator puzzle finished or whatever you called that. Then go back here, click on our lights, and then that will allow us to right click and get a reference to that. And then we can set intensity. Okay, we can set that to something like 8. Okay. And, maybe if we're making a game here, we created these other environments, so we could do something like moving this in here. Okay, so there's one. And then maybe our other one is in this other room here. Something like that. All right, so now we can go find our first fuel can. Fill that up. Let's go and find the second one. And finish out our puzzle. And then there comes our light on as well. All right. So I hope that helps, guys. I think that this would honestly be a great, like a really good little project for you guys to make for your first game. You know, this could be a puzzle or a game where you start in a bunker like this and you go through here, and maybe once you cross the door locks or something like that. And then you have to wander through the creepy bunker and get the generator turned on. And then when you get the generator turned on, then maybe it turns the lights on and opens the door, and you win the game. I want you guys to really, especially if this is your first project, that's what your first game should be. It should be very, very, very basic. Look, I made the exact same mistake that so many people make. I tried to make this big giant Resident Evil game, and it's very easy when you first get into this to start thinking like that, you know, oh, I'm going to make this survival horror game that's going to have this really cool inventory and this map and this stalker-like enemy. That is absolutely not what you should do. It is way, way, way too much for you to take on as your first project. So I think this would be a good size first project for someone to make. A small little environment like this. You could maybe expand it a little bit more. You know, you could put maybe a second level to it, maybe some additional hallways, things like that. We will go over how to make like some simple little jump scares. I am going to do some basic AI in the future. It's going to be very basic because I am terrible when it comes to AI. AI is very, very complicated. But we will show how to just do, you know, a basic AI that will maybe wander around in an environment like this, chase you when it sees you, and then you're able to get away from it, and it'll go back to wandering around. We will do something like that. But for right now, I hope that this gives you guys enough to kind of get started. And there will be, of course, a lot more coming. But if you guys have any questions, let me know. Or if you have any suggestions, any ideas that you'd like to see me create, whether it be environments or puzzles, just let me know. And as always, thank you guys so much for your support. You can always check out the links below if you want to find ways to support me. And I will see you guys on the next one. All right, take care, guys.